In 2005, Eric Martin was working in a paper mill in Maine, and he was reaching up to get something on a shelf when he threw his back out. And it ultimately meant he was not able to work anymore. His wife, Shelley Martin, was not working at the time, but when he couldn't work, she needed to get a job. And so Shelley was able, through some connections, to land a job in her hometown in Maine called Palmyra. Palmyra was a very small, rural community. They also had a 17-year-old daughter named Chelsea who was not eager to go, but it was the only place they could afford, and so they had to go. It's this beautiful farmhouse that sat on a whole bunch of acreage, but it was incredibly isolated. Right in front of their porch was a gravel road where they parked their cars. About 20 meters away from their house to the left is their barn, and beyond the barn is this huge open field. And then way beyond the field was the beginning of this tree line, of this really dense forest. Over that first year, Shelley and Eric developed this ritual where at the end of the day, they would go out on the front porch of their farmhouse and they would drink coffee. And there was just this low mist that kind of hung over the entire field. And as they're sitting there, they're commenting on how creepy it was when they realized that they couldn't hear any wildlife. And so Shelley had this high-powered flashlight and she begins scanning the tree line. And she gets to the field and gets about halfway across the field right in front of them, and she stops. Because right in the middle of the field are three creatures that look like wolves. These huge creatures that are looking right at them. Two others join them. So there's 5 wolf-like creatures that are staring at them. She says to Eric, "What are those?" And Eric, who's an experienced hunter, he has no idea. They go inside, they shut the door, and they lock it. And without saying a word, the two of them make their rounds across the entire bottom floor, lock every window, close every blind, but they're kind of poking their head out the window, and she's like, "Look." And standing on the gravel are these 5 creatures. One of the animals looks up at Shelley in the window, and the creature stands on its 2 legs and looks at her, and Shelley gasps and falls over because the creature's like 8 feet tall. So they decide they gotta call the police. And immediately the police officer who's responding to this, he's like, "Keep your door shut, keep your windows shut, and I'm sure it'll be fine." The family felt helpless, and so they decide the only thing we can do is barricade ourselves inside of the house. And so for the next 30 minutes, they put heavy furniture in front of all the doors and the windows. As they go upstairs, they lock themselves in the master bedroom, and they get on the bed, and they just decide all we can do is wait until the sun comes up. And they heard a couple of them at least walk onto the porch, and then they would hear them jump onto that first roof. And so from time to time, these creatures would walk past their windows, and they would stop and they would look inside, but there was a very thin sheet between them and the glass. All night, they're listening to these creatures running around. As the sun started to come up in the morning, the creatures jumped off the roof and they could hear them running away. They go downstairs and they finally open it up, and all over their property are signs of huge creatures, massive footprints with huge claws. This experience was so traumatic for the family that they sold the house, and they have not experienced anything like that since they left.